everyone, I am Diana, and this is my battle buddy Jess. Welcome back to episode 21 of.
Unfiltered and Unarmored.
Just remember, we're just two veteran women out here trying to figure out life after the military, healing, growing, and trying to convince ourselves that saying, I'm fine, actually counts as an emotional communication.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't.
Nope, not at all.
Somewhere along the way, a lot of us got really good at surviving, but not so good at slowing down, trusting people, or even letting them love us.
And the sad part is that nobody really talks about what happens when the mission is finally over. You finally meet someone who is patient, kind, supportive, and instead of feeling safe, you find yourself pulling away.
Maybe you shut down emotionally. Maybe you struggle with trust. Maybe intimacy feels different than it used to. Or maybe your brain is still stuck in survival mode, even though your heart wants connection.
So, before we get started, I want to let you know that today's conversation includes topics like PTSD, trauma, intimacy, sexual trauma, and relationship. If any of these topics are difficult for you ladies, please take care of yourself while you're listening. And remember, if you need support, do not hesitate to reach out to someone you can trust or a mental health professional.
And if while you're listening, you start thinking, is there something wrong with me? We want you to know you're probably not the only one asking that question.
So, this episode is not about judging anybody, obviously. It's about having a little more answers that we didn't have before. And it's about having an honest conversation that so many of us are afraid to have.
Because healing isn't just learning how to survive, sometimes it's learning how you let yourself be loved again.
Hell yeah. So, grab your coffee, your tea, whatever you like, take a deep breath, and let's have this real conversation.
Before we dive in, we want to give a huge thank you to the incredible women in our Facebook community. This episode actually came from one of you. One brave woman reached out and shared her story anonymously and asked if we'd be willing to talk about this. So thank you so much for trusting us.
Welcome back. So, before we start this whole conversation, I want to ask how you feeling, Jess?
I'm feeling super fantastical because it wasn't hot as Satan's butthole this week. We had a small break in the temperature. I wasn't dying.
That's good. It's always good to check on your battle buddies. So, I just wanted to check to see how you were doing.
How are you?
Ah, I am doing good. Obviously, if you guys go to the Facebook page and you follow us, I usually write exactly how I feel every day or all the little things that happen to in Diana's world. I take it one day at a time, and some days I'm good, sometimes I'm not. But this is why we have this community so you can cheer on each other.
Absolutely.
This is like a really good episode that we're going to talk about. And I do want to thank the person that sent it to us because what happens to us after we get out the military? What does love look after we take off the uniform? And I want to actually start by asking you something, Jess. Do you think the military changes the way that we connect with people?
If there was more than 100%, it would be that. Yes, absolutely. We talk a lot about how we connect with other veterans. We can go up to someone we don't even know, but we know that we're veterans. And we just start slinging jokes, slinging barbs, like cutting each other down, cutting up and having fun, trying to connect with people that have not been in the military or a military environment is a lot more difficult because we can't interact the same way. And for most of us, that's at least several years of our life. It could have been, the formative years of our lives. It was 20 years of my life. And I don't really know how to act another way. Connecting with my husband was the easiest, but connecting with people that he's connected with or, his family, that was really hard, because they don't understand the life.
This is true. And I'm glad that you said that about your husband because you connected well with him.
Mhm.
I think Part of it is because the military always teaches you to be strong, to stay tough, to keep on moving. People really don't get to see that struggling phase that we all reach. Like we all struggle differently, but we don't like to show it because we feel like,
Yeah.
we got to be the strong one, running 100% all the time. And we don't let that vulnerability show to other people.
Right.
So I think the problem with the military is that it teaches us how to be this strong person, but nobody tells you how to turn it off.
Yes.
That's where I think we make a mistake when it comes to friendships, or in this case, would be relationships with our partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives. Do you think that we spend so many years in survival mode that when you finally meet that one person that that cares about you, we don't always receive it like in the nicest way? Like we always have like that, what if something comes down? What if they really don't like me the way I am?
I can tell you that I still struggle with this. And I've been with my husband for 8 years. Now, in military time, that's a long fucking time, especially since I've had 3 marriages.
Yeah.
Even though I know that there is absolutely no way that either of us would cheat on each other, would do anything maliciously to hurt each other, I always have that what if just deep down in the pit of my stomach that one day he is going to say, this is just too much for me. I can't handle this type of crazy. You're in the military, it was a completely different life, and I'm just done.
I feel like we as women, like you said, like we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop
Yeah.
and we don't receive that love in general, like we're supposed to. I think it's not just you because even though I have been in a longer marriage for 19 years, I still feel that same way. And I think a lot of women obviously feel this way.
Yeah.
We have an issue, we have a problem. It's easier to blame somebody else. In this case,
Mhm.
it's blaming our partner.
Mhm.
Sometimes we think they're the problem, but sometimes they're not the problem. Sometimes is that we're trying to feel safe again and our body's reacting to that. So
Mhm.
we put like all these crazy scenarios in our mind and to feel like that we don't deserve a type of love for somebody to care about us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's how we women struggle with that. We're trying to get to that point where we feel safe in a partnership, in a relationship, or even in a friendship, that we're going to be able to sit down and be ourselves. But we're afraid that sometimes being ourselves is going to be, like you said, too much for the other person.
Yeah.
So then, on top of all this stuff, half or most of us have hypervigilance problems.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's why it affects relationships that we have, especially in this case, a partner relationship?
Yeah, definitely. I've said this, I think, from the beginning of the podcast that when I met Paul, the first weekend that we had a sleepover at his house, I just like threw up everything. I just told him, I was like, grab some wine. I'm about to like rip all the scabs off, and you're going to know. Like, you're going to know all my shit because I want to know now if you are willing to handle this. I've been cheated on. I've been called crazy for thinking that I was being cheated on, even after proving, hey, there's titties on the screen and you're not cheating on me. Okay. Like, this girl is sending you her titties. And like, come on, man. So I am not stupid, but I swear some men just think that they can get away with the world, but you're so dumb. So I made sure that all my baggage was unloaded so that he could see what he was walking into. Maybe a little bit of a minefield. Honestly, it was like the best thing that I could have done because no one knew me like he knew me, like ever. My first husband, I was with him for 13 years. We're going to talk about it in a little bit about PTSD and intimacy, but I was shamed. He shamed me, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But Paul never ever did that. He's like, if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. Paul doesn't get all the lingo, but I know that he will always have my six. I know that he will
Yeah.
always protect me and be there watching for me when I am just too overwhelmed, overstimulated, and in that hypervigilant state. I know that he will always have my back. So that was a long way to say, yep.
You know what? That's actually a good answer because I always tell people once you start a new relationship, you need to start that from scratch. It's really, really hard though,
Hmm.
because you have baggage, they have baggage. But like you said, if you're open and you tell them exactly what you've been through, they have a decision whether you take me or you don't take me.
Hmm.
But I think we women feel that by telling everybody our business in the first couple months to somebody is not only scary, but also you being vulnerable for them to hurt you back. And then you feel you're too much for that person. And instead of receiving that love and attention, you're always waiting for that shoe to drop because you feel like you don't deserve that kind of love.
Yes, absolutely.
That's how I feel because I've been in this marriage for a long time. But sometimes I'm like, damn, do I deserve my husband? Do I deserve the love that he gives me? Sometimes I doubt it. I won't tell him. Obviously, if he listens to the podcast, he will know. And it's not just us women that feel this way because I'm sure the men feel a certain way. They just don't know how to say it. If you've ever been in a place where they're trying to explain to you, no, it's not like this, and this is what really happened, you're already having your mind set up that nope, it's the same thing that happened to me before. You don't even give him the opportunity to explain because you've been there, done it, you ain't trying to hear it. And that's
Yeah.
why I say when you come into a relationship with a new person, sometimes the best thing to do is to zero. As you go on, you tell them what's going on, but be yourself. After 90 days, no matter how much you want to try to change who you are, we go back to the person we really are.
Hmm.
So, have you ever felt emotionally numb, Jess?
Yes. So, my first husband, I can't remember which episode it was where I said my first duty station, they were taking bets on us on how long our
Hmm.
relationship would last, which pissed me off. I was determined to get over that 7-year hump and then 10 years. But because I had a child with him, I was willing to put my emotional needs, my need for love, respect, honor, to have, our family unit together, even though at times it wasn't a healthy unit. I honestly did not want my son to have to grow up like I grew up in a broken home. So I was totally willing to being numb to the antics, we'll say, of what he was doing to me, in front of his soldiers. Like his soldiers came to my house and told me. And I was like, you know what? No one else is going to love me. That is how shitty and just numb that I got. And in my second marriage, that shit came quick because of the psychological abuse. I was emotionally numb. He is the one that encouraged me to kill myself. How do you pick yourself up from that? From those situations of people that tell you that they love you with all their hearts and, fairy tale bullshit. Then they do these things to you that are not nice, not respectful. I am not saying that I was a fucking angel at all. I told you I was an ice princess at one point, and obviously that's where being emotionally numb was because I was just tired of fucking fighting. Also, like, how do you come back from that and say, I am worth loving? I'm worth it.
I think we all feel like that at some point. Maybe this is the way that we deserve to be loved. You really don't know.
Mhm.
But it takes a long time for you to figure out what it is that you want and how you want to be loved because you have all this trauma. On top of that, you have PTSD. PTSD is not like all the nightmares and flashbacks and you going crazy all the time. It's the emotional distance. It's like shutting down to the point where you could be in the same house with that person and you don't care what they do. And without realizing, you're pushing this person that loves you away.
Mhm.
So when we have trauma, I think it changes the way that we receive love. Why do you think that it changes the way that you receive love, Jess?
Depending on the traumatic event, if it is a childhood trauma, it shapes who you are and how you think about yourself. So, for all the damage that my father did to me just with his words, I never felt good enough. I was a magnet to all of the shitbirds. Once they caught me in their fucking web of lies, then it was like, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not strong enough, you're not enough. When it comes to physical trauma or sexual trauma, there's so many things. Sometimes I didn't feel like I was in my own body. I didn't want to be touched. My husband can grab my leg, like my thigh, and I am jumping across the couch because he caught me off guard. And I love this man so much. I know that trauma changes you physically in your brain, it reroutes paths in your brain. Got it. But you also have a physical response. Like Victoria was talking about the book, The Body Keeps the Score. I
Yeah.
listened to it twice. Your body, it'll gravitate toward good people. It'll recoil from bad people or bad things.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. You spend so many years of protecting yourself because you have all this trauma.
Mhm.
So your body reacts to it. And you're right, it's like a recoil. If you're walking down the street and somebody goes boo and scares you, your body's gonna react. So now you're sending that to your brain saying, hey, every time I hit this corner, somebody might be there. So your body automatically is going like, oh snap, somebody might be there, even though somebody's not there.
Mhm.
Then you join the military, and the military is telling you, you're good, you got this, you're going to keep on pushing no matter what you feel. You become this person that cannot be vulnerable. That's when shit starts hitting the fan because you haven't worked through these emotions, the recoils, and everything that you've gone through. While you're in the military, some of us experiences something that tragically happens to you. We question if we're worth of love. Think about it like, why not? Why can somebody love me? We need to normalize that we're not our trauma. We're not what happened to us. Now, mind you, we do got to work on it because it's not from one day to another that, like, hey, everything's going to be good. Like I've always said this before, the first person that you have to love is yourself. If you don't love yourself in the way that you are, no matter, you love your trauma too, because you know what? Your trauma is going to fucking make you run fast as you can when you know there's trouble. Even though it sucks, your experience is going to let you know this person doesn't give me a good vibe.
Yeah.
This person has the same patterns that my ex husband had. So, nope, I'm running out. But at the
Mhm.
same time, you need to let yourself be a little bit vulnerable to let people see who you really are. Because even though your trauma is not who you are, it's still part of you. And you need to be able to open up to the other person that you're with so they could understand it. If they don't understand you, then that person's not for you.
Right.
Let's keep it real because the person probably has trauma and nobody's
Mhm.
actually taught them how to love somebody. If nobody's taught you how to love or you haven't really loved yourself, then you really don't know what kind of love you deserve.
Yeah. Amen.
So, how do you think we start learning to trust again, Jess?
Before I met Paul, I told you, I was a single mom for a while. I had a very shitty second husband. Like, he pretended that he was Prince Charming. I was just struggling with PTSD, struggling with being an emotional wreck from the abuse that I had once again let myself be duped into. I blamed myself for being bamboozled. What the fuck did I blame myself? I did not do what he did, but I blame myself. So I put myself in very dangerous situations. I shouldn't be alive. I told you I was working that first year after I retired. And funny enough, I worked with prior cops. Kevin, God rest his soul, was one of the people like, girl, you're a pretty girl. You're smart. We're not just going to hook up with randos. I worked with a lot of men, so they became very protective of me. And they were like, okay, we're going to vet these men for you. So if I would go out on a date, they'd be like, who the fuck is this person? where do they fucking live? What is their full name or even partial name? We're going to fucking look them up and do the background check. Because I did a background check on my second husband when I first met him, and it never showed me that he had an arrest.
Oh shit.
It never showed me that he had DUIs, and I paid for that shit. So my buddies being former cops, they're like, "Oh no, girl, we got you." That gave me a little bit of sense of, okay, I can trust myself because I am trusting these men who are like my brothers because they were also retired. They're veterans working with me and they had my back no matter what. And they're like, we will fuck him up. He won't even see it coming. And Paul ended up being like the real deal. So it was really nice to be able to feel loved enough, like as a sister, that they would give me some of
Yeah.
that trust back.
Ooh, now Paul's gonna know the truth if you haven't told him yet. So we'll circle back on that, Paul.
Oh God, you too.
That is a great example of restoring back your trust with somebody. And I love that that happened the way it happened to you. I think it starts with ourselves, giving ourselves the grace that we need to understand that we're not broken women, that our brain has survived through everything. Our body, our souls have survived through so much shit. Just know that you can survive anything, no matter how hard it really is. Now you teach yourself that if you could trust yourself in the decisions that you make, just like you did with your friends, you learn to feel safe again, feel safe of trusting people again. Not all the time. I always tell everybody, hey, be careful what you tell people because sometimes they just throw shit back in your face. So once you feel like you could be safe, and it's very possible that you could find that person that makes you feel safe. It is possible. I want every woman to know that if you ever felt this way, you're not alone. Even the ones that have been married for a long time, we know exactly how that feels because everybody has some type of trauma.
Uh-huh.
We need to learn to have grace with ourselves because we're not the bad stuff. We're not the good stuff. We're everything together into one. And we deserve to let somebody understand us and for them to show us love. And we are able to receive it.
Yeah. Can I say something before we move on to some fucking crazy ass questions you're going to say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Two things that you said there. You say it in a lot of episodes. We need to learn to give ourselves grace. Going to church as a kid, it was giving grace to other people. You focus on giving grace to yourself. I think it is much more important for you to be able to give grace to yourself so that you are able to honestly give grace to others. And the other thing that you said, everybody goes through some type of trauma. Every single person in this world has gone through some type of trauma. Could be falling down, busting their elbow, falling off their bike, some type of trauma. Trauma is trauma is trauma. There's more extensive trauma. But I do not like the fact that I have trauma baggage. I don't like all the bad shit that has happened to me. However, like you said, it has shaped me. It has given me the opportunity to be an advocate for other men and women in service. When I was in Hawaii, I worked for the SARC, Sexual Assault Response Coordinator, because I reported my sexual assault finally. I mean, it took well over a decade for me to say anything. And then I was able to start briefing people. And I think I talked about this in another episode, maybe, but I started telling people, not my story, but my truth, what happened to me. And also that you're not alone. You're never alone. No is a complete sentence, like you said. That experience, the additional sexual trauma I've experienced, the additional trauma that I've experienced from deployments, from relationships, from everything. It has shaped me into who I am today. And it has given me empathy and also helped me to give a voice to other people who maybe don't have their voice yet, but someday they will. Someday they'll be able to speak and say, you know what, I am fucking strong enough. I'm stronger than this trauma or whatever happened to me. I just want to say that is important. Trauma fucking sucks. But if you can work through it, you can come back and be stronger for it.
Yeah. But let's normalize that trauma sometimes is not bad because the minute you are born, where do you come out of?
The vagina.
Yes. And if you don't, and if you have a C section, can you imagine the trauma that you experience after being 9 months in a belly?
Ew, I just don't want to think about coming out of my mom's scooter. That's really gross.
No, because it's what? That's the whole point. Because it's
That's
what?
fucking traumatic. Our kids were in a soft little sack and then they come out and it's cold.
I'm not
Mhm.
saying it's bad trauma, but I'm just saying it's trauma. So you're never
Mhm.
going to be trauma free. So whoever says they're trauma free
Mhm.
is a liar. But that's what I'm trying to say. From the minute we're born, we have trauma. The trauma of learning to walk, walking and falling when you're a kid, that sucks. We just don't remember that trauma because we normalize it.
Yeah.
When you lost your first teeth, tell me that shit was not some traumatic shit. But what happens? You forget about the trauma because you
Mhm.
normalize it. I'm not trying to say your trauma is not important because it's not fucking normal that somebody sexually assaulted you or that somebody cheated on you. But we got to kind of say, you know what? That is part of who I am, of my story.
Mhm.
And everybody has a story. We could assimilate and rewire our brain that that's not all that we are.
Mhm.
To kind of appreciate, okay, that shit happened to me, but that's not who I am.
Right.
I am this strong, badass woman that has lived through all this shit, and I'm going to still keep on making it. And I am well deserved of being loved.
Mhm.
Now that we unfolded all this craziness, let's talk about PTSD and intimacy. Because I think this is one of the hardest conversations that one person could really have. And I'm glad that we're able to talk about it in the podcast because I don't think a lot of people talk about it. When you talk about PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, you're talking about the anxiety, the depression,
Mm.
the side effects that all that trauma that you've experienced and how it really does affect the way that we love and our relationships. But overall, it really, really affects our intimacy with the person we're with.
Yeah.
So, ladies, and of course, our beautiful Jess is going to answer the question. Do you ever feel that trauma made it hard for you to feel emotionally close to someone, especially your partner?
Yes. Going through sexual assault, that trauma made it very difficult because my first relationship after that was my first husband. And that was very frustrating for him because he didn't understand what I was going through when I would be hot and cold. At the time, that shit, like, you don't talk about that. You don't put your business out there. You
Yeah.
don't get a handout that says, if you're experiencing these, symptoms, please call blah, blah, blah. So I didn't know that what I was going through, what I was experiencing was normal because of what happened to me. And also, I didn't know how to explain it to him other than I had told him that I experienced this. So, because of his negative reaction, I mean, sometimes it was explosive. I had to keep part of myself hidden, literally from everyone, not just from my partners, but from my closest friends. Not just embarrassment, but when the person that is the closest to you reacts the way that they do, that puts a whole new perspective on how I perceived everyone else would react. So, absolutely, trauma definitely changes how you emotionally relate to people.
You know, I even go through that sometimes. I had my own MST incident that one day I'll talk about. And it's true what you said. That happened to me before I met my second husband, and I didn't know how to explain how I felt. I wanted to be close to him, but then I would find myself pulling away and I didn't understand why. My brain, in a way, was trying to protect me from, hey, this person is touching you. This happened to you. And I think we
Mhm.
all felt that way at some point in our lives when trauma happens to us. I know for me, for a fact, that when I go to the VA and I talk to them about it, they look at you like crazy, but you don't use the methods and breathe and count to 1 to 10 and all this stuff. And I'm like, I could do that every day, 24/7. But when my body's reacting to it, there's a chemical imbalance between my brain and my body, and it's not working. And I get to the point where I just don't want to be touched. Like, don't look at me, don't talk to me, don't touch me. Let me go into my panic attack. Let me figure this shit out. I could be okay in the afternoon, or I could be okay next week. When you can't explain that to somebody, especially the person that you just started dating or you just got married to, you feel like they're not going to understand you.
Mhm.
So you end up pulling away. And it's not because you feel like that person doesn't love you. You're trying to figure this stuff out.
Mhm.
Have you ever felt like that you ever pulled away from somebody that you love?
For me, it's easier to pull away, pull it into reverse, hightail it out of there, and just, be gone.
Oh, no, definitely. Because at that time, your mind is telling you run away because you're going to be safe.
Yep.
But your body doesn't necessarily fucking react that way. For example, you're in a good mood, you're with your husband, you're watching a movie, and then he grabs the popcorn, he grabs your legs instead, then your body's reacting.
Mhm. Yeah.
And your brain knows, like, hey, there's no danger, but your body's not showing you that. What the fuck is going on? What am I experiencing? I know I'm fucking safe. I know this man would never hurt me or this woman would never hurt me. This person loves me. But your body's reacting differently because it's protecting you.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
a really fucking sucky place to be because you know you're fine. You could trust this person. So then you sit there like, yo, I'm fucking weird. Nobody's gonna like me like this. I feel terrible about myself. And I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I'm coping with it myself too, because I've felt this way so many times. And I'm just like, do I deserve to put this person through misery with me? Well, I don't even understand what's going on with me.
Right.
And then I think we all experienced that. I'm sure you experienced it as well, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
So then you realize that you look vulnerable, but
Mhm.
vulnerability looks different for everybody differently. Like me being vulnerable is just being mad and not saying anything. For some people, it's like sitting down and crying. For some people, it's like, let me go get into my bed, put a blanket on, and lay down for 2 or 3 days. But at the same time, we feel like that's even a stronger way to do it, but not letting that person know how vulnerable we really are or what happened at the moment.
Mm. Yeah.
So maybe you could describe the last time that you were able to be vulnerable with him.
Vulnerability can be me crying. The other day, I had 2 panic attacks at home. I didn't see it coming, and one of them was obvious. The second one was not obvious. I was cleaning, and I was, like, in my element because it makes me feel like, "Okay, I'm not holding on to this burden anymore." For people that are not in the military or have, like, OCD tendencies, they may not understand that, but, I was talking to my husband and telling him that I was having they weren't nightmares, but, like, recurring things in my sleep. I told him, like, "I don't want to think about that. I don't want to remember, that kind of thing. Why can't I remember the good stuff?" Oh my god, I just remembered my husband kissing me for the first time. The other day, I couldn't remember. Could not remember at all. Why couldn't I remember that? So, like, I broke down and cried. I was like, "This is shitty because I can remember very vividly and sometimes in flashes, terrible things. But why can't I remember the good things?" And that's not fair. So, my vulnerable situation, a lot of it stems from my anxiety and panic attacks. I also let him in on everything else, like all the good things that helped me cope with my anxiety and PTSD. And I even told him he's sucky at charades when I'm, working up to a panic attack and I'm stuttering. I'm like, it's fucking horrible. Like he's
Mm.
terrible at charades and he knows it. It's okay. I love him.
Oh my God, I love that, Jess. I think for me, even though I've been married for so long, sometimes it's very hard for me to be vulnerable with my husband. The other day, I was telling him how I felt because, I have to get a procedure and I got to get a biopsy and I'm scared and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, and I was able to tell him, and we had a full blown conversation. He doesn't like me to be sad because he picks me up. But at the same time, I'm like, I need to be able to be sad with you because who else am I going to be sad with? And then he's
Yeah.
like, I get it. But then I understand that we both have PTSD. So if one of us is sad and if we both get sad, who's going to help the other one out? So I totally get it. But I think I could be just vulnerable with him. And even like in the intimacy, like let's say in the bedroom kind of thing, it's really hard. Like when we talked about like MST,
Mhm.
because like you said, there's gonna days that you're gonna be hot. You're gonna be like, yep, let's go, let's do this. Like, and then all of a sudden something happens. You have a flashback and it just completely brings you cold. And how can you tell
Mhm.
the other person, like, hey, you know what? I'm not in the mood anymore.
Yeah, because it's so quick.
It's like, okay, don't touch me. Like, no, I don't want to be with
Mhm.
you. And then when you haven't been in that situation, how can you tell your spouse, your girlfriend, the person you're with, hey, you know what you just did completely triggered me? Because you're going to freak them out anyways.
Mhm. Yeah.
I suggest that you have that conversation where you could be like, hey, you know what? Today I'm feeling it, but today I'm not feeling it. You have to have a lot of communication when it comes to the intimacy part because you never know. And it's not only like with sexual intimacy, it's just anything because anything could be intimacy. Just a
Yeah.
hug.
Mhm.
If your leg is hurting, and God forbid your partner just rubbing your leg, and then all of a sudden something triggers you, you probably end up kicking the poor person, you know?
Mhm.
But having that communication to be able to be real with that person is very important. I think we women need to hear this today. And please listen to us, ladies. If you're struggling right now with trust, there's a reason why. Once you find out the reason why you're struggling with the trust, your intimacy might get better because it all ties in together. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're broken or that your partner doesn't love you or that you don't deserve to be loved. It might just be that little by little, you're still healing and you're not there yet.
Mhm.
And let's be honest, just like it takes a long time to heal. It really
Mhm.
fucking does.
Yep.
So just
Yep.
know that you're not alone, that you're still healing. Be graceful with yourself. Just because Juanita from the block is healed, that and Funquisha is healing, that doesn't mean that you're not healing yet. It takes time for you to heal. Give yourself a lot of love and grace because you're allowed to heal at your own time.
Mhm.
Let's talk about trust. Now that we talked about intimacy, we need to learn how to trust because in order to get to intimacy, you have to learn to trust. This is one of the hardest things to do because
Yeah.
after you've been hurt so many times, it's not easy to trust somebody. And I think part of it is because you feel that you're going to get hurt again.
Yeah.
Why do you think this? Do you think it's part because of the trauma, Jess, that is hard to trust against? Or is it just because we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop? Or maybe we sabotage ourselves.
Damn it, Diana. Like, you just threw 3 things that are absolutely part of the situation. So, yes. Yes to the shoe dropping. Yes to sabotaging ourselves. Yes to I forgot what the first one was. But also, I think that trusting is so difficult because you have your circles, right? You
Hmm.
had your inner circle, which is going to be like your partner and usually your very, very, very close family. Like my mother is not in my inner circle. She used to be, but she was part of the issue of why I can't trust people. So I think it is where that trust was broken in your trauma or in your recovery from trauma. If it is on the outside, like people in the fucking town, I don't give a shit if they're like, "Oh, that bitch has PTSD. Oh, she has panic attacks." Fuck you. And you got something wrong with you. I'm not going to go point it out. You know what I mean? I think that it is the circle of, how close was that circle? Where was it broken? If it's continuously in the inner circle, it's going to be, that much more difficult. I don't want to quantify it, but it's going to be 10 times more difficult or a gabillion times more difficult to, just let down your guard just a little bit or let down your gate, over your heart just a little bit. If it wasn't that inner circle, you're like, okay, fuck yeah, just let's talk. It's not the same. Waiting for the shoe to drop, self-sabotaging, I think those are absolutely those core things that are ingrained in us for those people that are blessed to be in your inner circle.
Girl, I love that. Blessed to be in her circle. You're right about that because you can't let everybody in.
Nope.
I think the hardest part is just feeling guilty afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know, at least in my relationship with my husband, I know that he doesn't do anything wrong. You wake up, your husband makes you coffee, he's being patient, he's being loving, he 100% supportive. And sometimes I'm just like in such a shitty mood, or I don't even understand what I'm feeling, that I just like, fuck it. I don't want to deal with your ass today. you know? I put up walls where I'm like, okay, I don't want you to come in right now because I'm in a certain mood. And then I feel guilty about it because why am I putting walls that when I've been with this man for 22 years? Like, what's wrong with it? Like, he's not going to go anywhere? Even though I've been in such a long relationship, I'm still waiting for him to say one day, like, you know what, Diana, this ain't going to work out. I'm always waiting for something bad to happen. And not necessarily it's going to happen, but I think we all feel that way. And I think that's, like you said, my trust issues came from my first husband because just like you, I got cheated on and he had a kid with
Mhm.
somebody else. So I was trying to get over all that shit. I didn't want to be with anybody else. I was just trying to take care of me. Then something
Mhm.
happened, and then I met my husband, and my husband would be the first one to tell you, like, hey, I didn't want to deal with him either. I was trying to figure out who Diana was. And hey, man, look, I'm here in my 40s and I'm still trying to figure out who I am. I feel guilty sometimes because even though he's so 100% supportive and he's so loving, sometimes I
Mhm.
feel like I don't deserve that.
Yeah, same.
And sometimes it's not that I feel like I don't deserve it. It's just like my brain takes me to that side, like, hey, you know what? You're difficult. Or I have a resting bitch face, or I am such a mean person? And then I start questioning myself, like, oh my God, am I really this terrible person? I was
No.
like, how can this person that is so terrible be loved? I'm just saying, like, I know I'm not, but your mind takes you to that. So then he comes home, hey, honey, how are you? And I'm just like, ugh. So I sabotage myself because I'm angry at him for me thinking all these crazy things
Yeah.
instead of like sitting down and talking to him about it and be like, hey, you know what? Today I feel this way. Even though I know my husband's gonna be like, quit acting stupid. He doesn't call me stupid. He says, quit acting stupid. Like, that's dumb. That's ridiculous. Like, why are you thinking that way? I think we sabotage our own relationships because we let
Oh,
our
yeah.
mind go somewhere else. And we don't deserve that shit. We deserve to be loved.
Yeah.
Why you think we push people away who love us the most?
For me, it's a protective mechanism. I mean, you know what I did? I was like, "Fuck, I'm moving to this place." I had said some very not nice things to my husband. I felt like my power was taken away from me by someone else, and I didn't want him to have to choose me over anyone else. So I chose, I'm gonna protect myself, and I'm just gonna bounce. Even though it would fucking financially cripple me, I'm just gonna get the fuck out of Dodge because that is easier for me to run away than it is to face the problem head on. It's not a problem with me and my spouse. It's a problem that I have to work through. And I also have to work through it with him. I even brought it up the other day again. Like, I feel like I lost my power in this, but why? I shouldn't feel that way, you know?
Because it's your trauma. It's your trauma
Yeah.
telling you, this is what I'd expect. They've been taking my power for so many years. And even though it was something so little, you felt like, no,
Mhm.
I'm standing up for myself. This is not happening.
Mhm.
And for us, when we have PTSD, sometimes it's just better to just run away and start all over. I feel
Yeah.
that shit all the time. I felt that in my core just because I feel like I want to run away all the time. But you know what? Running away is not the solution
No.
because the trauma's still going to be there. You're
Yup.
still going to be the same person. You're still going to have the same insecurities. But here's the difference: you guys had communication and
Yeah.
you were able
Yeah.
to communicate with him how you felt.
Mhm. But if I did run away, I wouldn't have Paul. I wouldn't have the man who understands me so well and loves me so unconditionally. It's not disgusting, but it's like, it's disgustingly cute. He loves me and for all of the gray, all of the brightness, all the darkness in myself. He loves me. There is no one on this planet that could love me more.
Okay. So you panicked, you wanted to move. That's your body shutting down, correct? You're like, hey, I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be there anymore. Like, I'm out this bitch.
Pretty much.
Then what ended up happening? A conversation with your husband.
Mhm.
Did that communication help you to solve the problem better?
Yeah, it did. Do I still feel hurt over something that has nothing to do with him? Yes. But do I feel assured that he is still and always will be my partner and be supportive of me and me supportive of him? 100%.
This is where I'm getting at because I want ladies to understand. So you had a problem, you had the communication, and just by having this and not running away from it and being able to have the conversation, these conversations will get easier as they go. Now you're setting that boundary, saying, like, hey, this is how I feel. You didn't run away because you're protecting yourself, but you did something better because by communicating with him, you were able to see that he does care about you, that you are deserving of love, but you also deserve to feel the way that you feel.
Yes.
If you would have ran away, you would have started all over from zero again. And then you would
Mhm.
still have the same trust issues. You have to start again from the intimacy. This is why we're having this conversation because sometimes these conversations are hard to have with our spouses, with our partners.
Mhm.
We want to make sure that you ladies know that it's okay to feel the way that you feel, but it's also okay for you to talk through it. Tell the person that you're with, your husband, your wife, your partner, tell them, hey, you know what? This is what's going on. I'm upset. I'm mad. Boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. And let them reassure you that it's okay, that everything's going to be fine. Because running away or getting to that point where you're just completely numb is not fair for them as well as for you.
Right.
And then this is something I mainly told my husband this. We found out we both had PTSD. I said, like, it's so much easier just to grab my shit and leave, but it's so much rewarding to work through our issues together and build a relationship out of it. Is it going to
Yeah.
be easy? Hell no. It's never easy. But you know what? It's like a business that you're investing in your
Yeah.
partnership. And if you invest well, you're always going to have that person that's going to have your back no matter what.
Yep.
So, what advice would you give somebody who is afraid to tell their partner how they're really feeling, Jess?
If I was still in the military, I would say sack up and fucking tell the truth. You know what? Have the fucking conversation with yourself in the mirror. Say all the things that you think that they could say. All your insecurities. Throw those bitches at yourself in the mirror. And know that you say you are your worst critic. Basically,
Mm.
I'm putting that in a nutshell. um,
Yeah, yeah.
that nobody can hurt you because you've already said all those horrible things to yourself. So go to the mirror, say all the things, laugh maniacally, be an asshole to yourself, and then have the conversation with the person. Because if they don't know and they really love you, or if they really care about you, whatever the feels might be, and you're not giving them the chance to honor you just by listening, then you're not only doing yourself a disservice, you're doing them a disservice. And that's not fair to either of you.
Like Jess says, preach, girl. Yes, I love everything you say because you know what is true? Our partners cannot read our minds.
Nope.
They don't know if we're struggling unless we tell them.
Yep.
Even though it's hard for us to tell them, hey, I'm struggling with this, they need to listen to you and they need to hear you. You need to be heard, especially when you have kept shit in for so many years. Communication is not really weakness. Communication is being able to express yourself and tell everybody how you feel and tell your partner, especially how you're feeling, because that
Mhm.
is, ladies, a part of healing.
Yeah.
So, as you listen to us today, please, ladies, remember that you don't have to heal overnight and that
Mm-mm.
you're definitely not alone. We all go through this shit every day, but communication is a big, big, big part. Now, let's talk about marriage because, being married, like we've been discussing, is not easy. Sometimes we choose the wrong partner. And to be fair, I have done this. Sometimes it's hard to find the right partner.
Yeah.
After being married so many times, how was having a supportive partner helped you through difficult times, Jess? I could say for me, my ex husband made me realize the things that I don't like and the behaviors that I would not tolerate. So I know that now that I have a supportive husband, what it feels like and I allow myself to have it.
Mhm.
How is it having a supportive, a supportive partner helped you go through the difficult times?
On episode 18, I said, I've had PTSD for 14 years. That was not my first marriage, but it was basically every relationship after that. I think through MST, sexual trauma, I had PTSD before. It just was different. When I met Paul, the first day that I met him, he was late because we had a hurricane, and I fell asleep in the car. And I met him in the Target parking lot. We went across the street, ate a little bit, but I was like not feeling it because I was just so nervous because meeting a new person, having to go through all that shit. But long story short, I had a panic attack outside of a big shopping center where I live. Paul immediately protected me. He got me out of the store, put me against the brick wall, and then put his arms around me so people couldn't see what was happening. They could hear it. So that right there, I was like, holy fuck, no one has ever done that for me, protected me like that. My son has actually cussed people out when they stare at me when I've had panic attacks in public. He is the first person to be like, what the fuck are you looking at? Leave my mom alone. I totally appreciate it. Love you, bud. But my husband, well, this man that I just met, he was supportive from go. I told him that I had panic attacks, but who the fuck knew that that was going to happen on our first date? Like, what the hell? I really put him through it from literally day one. I'm saying that because that was a huge event that he could have easily been like, deuces. I cannot deal with that. If we're just walking through the store and you're fucking looking like a terrified rat in, a field of cats, no. But he showed up for me in so many ways, even with just pressure on my arm, hugs. I love it when he hugs me because I can feel the tension leave my body. Just his pressure will give me
It's like a
a
weighted
sense of
blanket.
grounding. Yeah, 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 exactly. Any other relationship, even coworkers. I had one, he was a captain, Jeremy, was the only person that ever stopped while I was having a panic attack and said, "Are you okay?" and sat with me until I was through it. My peers deuced. They left me. It didn't matter where I was. I had panic attacks at work. It happened. Going from these people being in my second circle, my second husband would tell me, stop being dramatic when I'm having a fucking panic attack. So Paul is immediately in caretaker mode. What can I do to help? I'm going to stand here because you can't communicate. I am going to protect you from the world. Even though he is shorter than me, he is still like, I'm going to protect you. And he did. And he's always done that. What does that mean to me? It makes me want to cry because I've never felt this much love and support from other humans, even in my own fucking family.
That's a very good example because you just met him. You kind of took me back to my first relationship. I don't know if I've said it before, but my first husband was very abusive with food. Like he wouldn't let me eat. I could only eat
Mhm.
salads and I had to be this like super skinny, eye candy, arm candy kind of girl. I hated it. But like I said, I didn't know any better. I sucked it up. But once I met my husband, I could never forget the first time we were friends at the time and we went to a Subway. I ordered a foot long. And this man was just eating of his foot long. I ate my foot long. I crushed it before he even had a chance to finish his. And he just looked at me and didn't say a word. Of course, we talked about it years later. We still laugh about it. But it was the first time that I felt like I was accepted, that he was not going to be mad because I was eating. I know it sounds ridiculous, like, but it's the little things that
No,
matter.
that's real.
I've had this terrible past. I couldn't eat certain things. Like I couldn't freaking eat a whole sandwich. Like I needed to I have such an unhealthy relationship with food. And with him, it was just like I could eat whatever I want. Then I thought it was the fluke. Second time around, we went and I got a whole rack of ribs. Ate all of them. He said I only gave him one rib to try, but I ate everything. And he didn't say anything. I really didn't never thought about it till like later on after we got married. And one conversation a long time ago came up and he's like, that's when I realized that's gonna be my wife. And I was like, a food? He's like, yeah, because you like to eat and then you're not gonna waste food and in my mind, I was like, oh, he's allowing me to eat what I want. Like he's not controlling my eating. We had two different perspectives of the whole situation. But to me, that's when I realized, having a good partner is someone that's going to let me be myself.
Yeah,
And that's one thing that I've learned. Your partner's not there to fix you, period.
period.
Yeah. They're there to walk beside you while you're healing.
Yes.
We heal at different pace, and sometimes we're going to have setbacks. But if they could heal themselves and while you're healing and you could be there for them and they could be there for you, that's why it's such a beautiful word, a partner. Do you agree with that, Jess? Put your 2 cents into it.
Hell yeah. You said it before. We heal at our own pace, and that's okay. If you're healing with your traumas while walking beside each other, that's fucking amazing because you're both trying. You're trying to heal yourself, and in the process, you are ultimately growing closer.
Yes. Yes, girl. Even though some of us are in therapy, some of us are not, not judging anybody. Therapy does teach you a lot of things. One of the things that it teaches you is that it's not about the trauma, but it's more about the communication that you have with the person.
Yeah,
Have you ever learned anything that has helped you in your relationship that can help somebody else?
I'm working on setting boundaries because that is one of the hardest things that I have ever dealt with because people like to crush my boundaries. They're like, oh, you're funny. But setting boundaries also in your relationship, a thing that my husband and I started saying early on in our relationship is, I'm not them. I am not him. My husband has a privacy screen. It's busted and it drives me up a wall. So when he's on his phone, he has to turn his phone like a certain way because it's got the privacy screen and he can't fucking
Hmm.
read it. So I'm like, oh shit, both of my
Yeah.
spouses were very secretive on their phone. And I have to remember he is not them. So I'll be like, oh, are you talking to your boyfriends? Because he has really good besties and they send stupid shit almost every night. And it's ridiculous and love them for it. It's funny, but I just have to remember constantly he is not them. And it's just kind of a nudge like, I love you so much. I will never be that person. So calm the fuck down.
I think you hit right on what I was going to talk about next because boundaries are so freaking important. When people hear, oh, I need to have a certain boundaries, like people think it's like a bad thing, but it's really not. You're just trying to be healthier for yourself and be healthier in your relationships, and having boundaries makes the relationship a lot stronger. I think the phones are the devil because you don't know what people are looking at the time. So it does bring a lot of women a lot of insecurities. Like, I don't
Uh-huh.
have an issue. I give it to my husband. He can look at it all that he wants. Now, he'll
Mhm.
never grab it without my permission. You still respect that privacy, but like your mind takes you elsewhere where you're like, what is going on? What are you trying to hide? And that's when I think we have those thoughts in our mind. We should be able to tell him, hey, what's going on? Like, is everything okay? That's what I say to my husband. Is everything okay? I think my biggest insecurity is like when my husband leaves and I don't hear from him and I
Oh,
start
yeah.
texting him. And then he's like, yo, don't worry. I'm not doing anything bad. I'm not necessarily saying you're with somebody, but I want to make sure that you're okay. That's all
Mhm.
I care
Yeah.
about. But if we're really being honest, just with all of your insecurities and how you are as a person, do you really think that somebody else is going to take that place from your husband? Like,
Nope. I know what you meant.
yeah,
Fuck no.
I could go down the street and like somebody can check me out or whatever, but I know for a fact that I'll just look at them and I'll be like, run. Don't even look at me, run, because I'm crazy, you know? So when I see it like that with my husband, I'm like, hey, you can go ahead and look at him. He is an attractive man. Obviously, I'm attracted to him. I like him. So somebody else is gonna like him. But I'm not concerned that if somebody's gonna take him because, like I said, like he has a lot of baggage too, and not a lot of people are strong enough. So that's where the security comes of the boundaries that know that okay, yeah, your mind goes there, but at the same time, it's like, how long would the other women or partner will last with them? Because the actuality is that we don't think that way. We think about it that the grass is greener on the other side, but sometimes it's not.
Mm-mm.
So you place
Right.
those boundaries like, hey, you're on your phone, cool. You good? Okay, that's it. Now, if it's more excessive and stuff, then you should be able to have the communication and say, hey, you know what? This happened to me before in the past relationships. I have trust issues. Is there something going on?
Yeah.
That's a boundary right there.
Yeah.
Let me know before this shit gets any further. It fucking sucks when you get betrayed, your mind goes somewhere else.
Mhm.
How do you think couples rebuild emotional safety after trauma?
One brick at a time, one safety clip, one D-ring, one 550 cord knot at a time.
That's a good one.
I hope this doesn't come out wrong. When I met Paul, he got me wine and I just like bleh, told him everything. Not only was he like in a house full of shit and waiters, you know what I mean? Walking around like, fuck, this bitch has
Yeah.
so much baggage. I know that he had, this mental thought of, man, I have a lot to live up to. She was in the military. I know that he regrets that he didn't serve in the military, and I'm like, "Listen, bud, if you try and the Army accepts, I will bust your kneecaps. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. You're done. You won't be walking. Sorry, peoples, but I can't lose him. He means too much to me." He has me almost up on a pedestal. I feel like sometimes, or at least he used to. I was on this pedestal, and I'm like, "Listen, man, here's all my fucking baggage. Let's level the playing field here." Just by communicating, we were able to build our own path. I'm going to be really like dorky. Build our own path into the garden of life that we have created. Because that's just kind of what popped into my head.
Yeah, that's cute.
Just because we were so very honest. He didn't dump all his shit on me right away. I had to dump my shit on him to make sure that he was ready to be able to, accept the challenge that would be our relationship. 'Cause sometimes I was great, but, sometimes I am not. So, yeah, it's literally one step at a time. What about you?
Like, how you could build from emotions is like just being honest with them. And when you see something, just talking about it, like you said. At least with me, it was like we built our own culture. Being Hispanic is just completely different than being like an American person, you know?
Mhm.
So I gave him a little bit of like sazon, you say, and then he gave me a little bit of like badass. So we combined our own things and then we have our own language. which you don't understand. But you got to be built from that trauma. Is just like be you. And like I've said it before, what works for you works for you. It doesn't work for
Mhm,
me. It doesn't work for Jess. It doesn't work for Bonquisha, Franny, Paula, Francisco. It doesn't work for them. It works for you. Rebuilding an emotional safety again with somebody is just allowing yourself to be present with that person
mhm.
and just build your own thing because everybody's different. If we had two Dianas, for God's sakes, it would be double the trouble. If there were more than two, oh God. But just create your own bricks little by little at a time, and then everything will fall into place. What do you think what helps someone feel safe enough to open their heart again?
Maybe not exactly what I did. I like your 90 days of working yourself up to telling your story instead of just basically one night. Which I didn't tell him everything in one night. Some things I kind of glossed over and was like, "We'll talk about that later." You have to go back to loving yourself. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to be able to let in someone else to love you. If you don't trust yourself, you're not going to be able to trust anybody else. And trusting yourself to make the right decision after you've been emotionally, physically, mentally burned or hurt, it's going to fuck with you and it's going to fuck with your ability to trust other people. But you need to trust yourself again to make that leap of faith. Bring in another person, like your bestie. Don't bring in your bestie who's like, this person will be great. No, you want that person that's going to be brutally fucking honest with you and with everybody else. Get that person. And always tell someone where you're going. Doesn't matter, even if you're in a new relationship, just in
Yeah.
case. Drop a pin and be like, yo, this is where I'm at today.
That's true.
Just in case.
Yeah, you said the 90 days. My grandma, shout out to my grandma in heaven. She was married for a very long time. Like I said before, she has 14 kids. And one thing
Aw.
that I really remember her telling me is that it doesn't matter how long you're with a person, you're always learning from that person something new.
Yeah.
So you really don't get to know that person fully 100%. My thing would be like to open your heart again. Your heart's been burnt, like you said, let it melt, drop by drop by drop. But in the process, like get to know yourself because sometimes we're connecting with somebody. It doesn't have to be like a specific huge moment. Sometimes it's just like we're connecting without pressure, getting to know each other.
Mhm.
Just simply sitting down with a person and just talking and going for a walk or holding hands, maybe watching a movie together. Something so simple that could literally bring you back into that trust and you could connect with that heart again. Because sometimes we
Mhm.
forget that the little things that we do with someone are the ones that really matter.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's not like, the first kiss we had, it was magical. Like sometimes it's something as simple as just getting home and getting a hug.
Yeah. And if you do have that magical moment and they're all magical, I'm just going to throw this out there. Question that shit. Question it. Paul and I, it took a long, long, long time for us to have an argument. But my second husband, he was Prince Charming from Go. And I should have seen the signs, but everybody was like blowing it up, like, oh my God. I should have seen the signs, but I didn't because he snowballed the shit out of me. He was a master manipulator. But Paul, I let him see the ugly. Like, I let him see the scars, all the ugly things, just to make sure that he was real. So don't jump too quickly. Let that shit thaw, like she said, drop by drop.
When you have a great partner and they make you feel love and they make you feel wanted, they don't even have to say anything. You just know it. But you gotta allow yourself to feel love. For me, I know it's something as simple as making coffee. My husband goes to work every day, but he has a coffee pot. So when I'm ready to wake up, I'm like, The coffee is done and I can smell it and it just makes me happy. Like, oh, it's the little things.
Mhm.
I think we all have that one person that does the little things. I think recreating your own moments for you feel that love with that person. That's what matters. It takes time to construct that beautiful part once you're together in a partnership. You create your own culture, a person and a person that is coming together with two different backgrounds, two different way of seeing things, and then you're creating one.
Yep.
If somebody's listening today and has a supportive partner, just like Jess does, circle back, Mr. Paul. I'm happy for you. But if you're still struggling to find that person, try to find the one person that's going to be your partner. Don't try to rush into it because sometimes that's what the mistakes that we make.
I'm gonna piggyback on that shit because my first marriage, we were together 10 months and then we got married. But it was military convenience. I was gonna go to Japan and I don't even know where the fuck he was going. We loved each other though. The second one, we were married 6 weeks because I was getting orders.
Mm,
Third, well, final, Paul, we were together for 2 years before we got married. Even though we knew we were gonna get married, he wouldn't move in with me until after we got married. So I was like,
oh,
"Oh, you suck."
oh, no,
But
that's
yeah,
sweet.
yeah, he's that guy. And I think not rushing into it is the most important thing. Yes, you can totally have the relations. That's cool. You can also smooch. Smooching is fun. Kissing. If you're gonna move in together, that's cool. You get to know a lot about people when you
Yep.
live with them. Being in the military, like, we had roommates, and roommates fucking suck, regardless of where you're at. I think that's it. You got everything else.
One of the biggest things that you can learn from this is that healing, it's not about becoming a person you used to be, but becoming a better version of yourself. And if you're
Yeah,
lucky enough to have someone by your side that is willing to walk with you through all your bad and horrible shit, I recommend to hold on to them and really,
yeah,
really use communication. It's a lot easier just to heal with somebody that loves you than doing it on your own.
yep,
Like I said before, we asked amazing women to share their stories on our Facebook community to see if they wanted to share their experience and they want to share their stories. So we actually got one. And thank you so much for trusting us with your story and being vulnerable with us. So thank you to the woman that sent us this. So our first question says, did healing your trauma improve your marriage? What are your thoughts, Jess?
this is a hard question because we have talked about it several times that healing goes at its own pace. I have a lot of trauma. I am always healing, but at the same time, scabs are being ripped off of old wounds so that I can heal just a little bit more. And it fucking sucks. But if you're willing to put in the work, not only in your own personal healing, but allowing your partner or spouse to heal with you, especially if they weren't there during your trauma, I think that is a spectacular thing. I think it's amazing if you allow them to watch you heal through this process and just being vulnerable. Like Diana said earlier today, you don't necessarily have to say what your trauma was to your spouse. You don't need to ever tell anybody else but your therapist. If you are brave enough to expound on it with your partner or spouse, that's awesome. But if you are able to, tell them, these were my ups, these were my downs today, these were my gains, these were my losses, however you want to put it, I think that is something that will bring your marriage closer. And if it doesn't, that person's a heartless fuck and you should run away.
Yeah. The trauma's always going to be there,
Yep.
but you could improve your marriage because by talking
Hmm.
about it, you gave that communication to somebody to see what's going on. It helps the relationship. Here's another question. How did you reconnect emotionally with your partner? Because I think that's something so many women struggle with. You're right. A lot of women do struggle with it after being in such hard situations and in, with partners that really you can't communicate with. It's really hard to connect with a new one. But I think communication is definitely the key. The next one really touched me. What helped you finally feel emotionally safe again? Jess and I kind of talked through this a lot. And I feel what helped me feel emotionally safe again was being able to understand what I was going through, was able to feel that the person that mattered the most to me was me and to connect with myself at a deeper level because caring about me and loving myself, I was able to see what I could offer the other person and what that person could offer me. So feeling emotionally safe with yourself first can do a lot, especially with your partner. What do you think, Jess?
I agree with what you said. Being able to express my emotions openly with Paul, communicating with him, being able to communicate freely without fear of judgment. You have to also be willing to listen and be non judgmental because it's not just a one-way street. It's not just your recovery. You're looking for that emotional safety net, but also they could have been through their own trauma and they're also on this new journey with you or this better journey with you if this is not a new relationship.
So here's another one. What advice would you give another woman who is afraid she's going to lose a good relationship because she's still healing?
Allow them into your healing journey. But like I said, you do not have to expose every part of your trauma or every
Yep.
single part of whatever you're healing from.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I told my husband when I met him. I said, I was raped. It took me a long time to actually say those words without whispering them to another human. It has been 28 years. I'm still healing from that. Will I ever heal from it? 100%? Who the fuck knows? Hopefully, someday I will wake up and not remember. That would be fucking awesome. But hopefully, I remember the lessons along the way. But I didn't have to tell Paul, my partner, that I was raped. I could have said, honey, I experienced sexual trauma. There are times when I am not going to want you within 3 feet of me. I'm going to need you to sit on the other side of the couch. You cannot have this cologne. You cannot say these words to me. But then there are going to be other times where I am going to invite you in. And that will be, the healing part. So let them in on whatever you feel strong enough and safe enough to reveal to your partner. And hopefully they're a good person.
Yep.
I assume that they're a good person since you are saying that it's a good relationship. You're always going to be healing. I promise you that. You're always going to be growing. Medically, your body regenerates all the cells in its body every 9 years. I forget what Diana says, like for mentally and emotionally. You basically become a new person. And I can't remember
Yeah.
how many years that is. So you're always becoming a new person. So tell them, hey, I am afraid of losing you. I value this relationship and I need you to know that I am on a healing journey and I want you to be part of it. Give them that opportunity to be part of your healing journey because you never know how impactful that will be to that other person. They could have that like superhuman complex of wanting to protect you. And usually, when you love someone or when you care for them deeply or when you have the feels for them, you want to protect the shit out of them. So giving them that opportunity is rewarding to them, and it will be rewarding to you. So I hope that helped.
The advice I could give you is like, if that person's not going to be understanding, why even bother?
Yeah. Mhm.
To be honest with you, like, why even try to do it? If that person really loves you, they're going to love the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if that person's not 100% with you, how are you sure that you could be 100% yourself with them?
Yes.
If they choose to run away the minute you tell them something that matters to you. Because honestly, it's in a benefit for everybody for you to heal. So
Mhm.
they should support you.
Yep. What she said.
All right, now we have an anonymous listener story.
Content warning. This story discusses PTSD, trauma, and sexual trauma. Please take care of yourself while listening. Hi, Diana and Jess. Thank you for creating a space where women veterans can speak honestly about the parts of healing that often stay hidden. I'd like to share my story anonymously in hopes that another woman realizes she isn't alone. PTSD has affected every part of my relationship. For years, I lived in survival mode. The military taught me to push through, stay strong, and keep my emotions buried. Long before my service, I experienced years of sexual trauma that I never truly processed. I convinced myself I was okay until one day, everything I had spent decades holding together came crashing down. My partner has done nothing wrong. He's patient, loving, and has stood by me through some of my darkest moments. Yet I still find myself pulling away. I isolate, overthink, and struggle to let him in, even though I love him deeply. One of the hardest parts has been intimacy. My desire for it changed, not because I don't love my partner, but because my mind and body are still learning what safety feels like. Trauma made it difficult to trust, even someone who has given me every reason to feel safe. I've also realized that much of my life taught me love came with conditions, that I had to earn it or sacrifice pieces of myself to receive it. Accepting unconditional love has been one of the hardest lessons of my healing journey. Today, I'm in therapy, learning DBT skills, journaling, practicing mindfulness, and leaning on my faith. Healing isn't easy, and I still have difficult days. But one thing I've learned is this: maybe I'm not supposed to become the woman I was before. Maybe I'm becoming someone healthier than I've ever been. If you're afraid you're losing a good relationship while you're healing, please don't believe you're broken. Trauma changes how we think, trust, and connect, but it doesn't make us incapable of healthy love. Be honest with your partner, even if you don't have all the words yet. Let them know your distance comes from fear instead of lack of love. If they're willing to walk beside you through your healing, let them. I'm still in the middle of my story, but I believe healing is possible. I believe trust can be rebuilt. I believe intimacy can return. And I believe our past doesn't have to define the rest of our lives. If this story helps even one woman feel a little less alone, then sharing it was worth it.
Wow. If that story sounds anything like how you're feeling, we just want to let you know you're not alone. Trauma definitely changes how we love, but it doesn't take away from the ability to heal. So thank you for this brave, beautiful letter. And thank you for trusting us with your story. Whew, that was powerful, Jess, because this is what we've been talking about. And this is what this whole podcast is about, just to help women be themselves. When you go through sexual trauma, I think it's so hard to come back from anything.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. She and I are very similar. This is not a letter from me, but I feel like she spoke so many of my truths throughout my healing
Yep.
process. So, girl, you are not alone.
Yeah.
And for anybody else, like Diana said, you're not alone. And if you want us to read your story, you can share it. If you want us to read it on the podcast, we'll share it. But if you want us to respond with an email, we can definitely do that because you're not alone.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I need to jump out of my feels real quick and lighten things up.
Yes, please, Jess.
It's time for love this or that.
Okay.
Some of these are my favorite things. So, Diana, don't fuck it up. Don't
Okay.
overthink it.
Ah, girl, you're telling a Virgo not to overthink things? That's terrible.
I know.
If you're a Virgo, you know.
Number one, morning cuddles or nighttime cuddles?
That's a hard one. But because my husband works, I'll take the night cuddles.
I love those too. Number two, love notes or surprise date nights?
Mm. I think I take the love notes just because the surprise date nights come with a lot, a lot of preparation.
Yes.
So I take the little love notes, even though it's just sticky that says, "You got this," because I got in plenty of those and I love them.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Number three, text each other all day or one really good conversation at the end of the day.
Ooh, this is a really hard one, Jess, because it depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling down, I want him to text me all day. But that's only if I'm in like in my feels, like you say. But I think one good conversation at the end of the day would make the whole day better.
Okay, number four, a quiet night at home or a date night out. Good luck with that.
Yeah, definitely a quiet night at home.
How about a date night on your back porch or your
Yep.
deck or something?
Uh, actually, funny that you said that. We do that. We take the laptop. I have a hammock, and we watch a show or a movie outside in the
Oh,
hammock. So yes, I've done it. Yeah,
there you go. I love that. All right, number five, holding hands or a really long hug.
I take a long hug, just because sometimes it's so hot, and your hands get sweaty. But I do occasionally hold hands. I'm actually not a whole hand, but like a little finger. I just grab the pinky. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I definitely take a long hug.
Yeah. Oh, this one. Words of affirmation or acts of service.
I think for me, acts of service are more important. Because even though the words of affirmation are beautiful and I love to hear them, I need actions. And I remember this because one time when my husband and I were first dating, he said, "Actions speak louder than words." So I was like, you know what? You're right. So I do definitely take acts
Mm.
of service. Not that he talks that way, but that's how I sounded in my head. He said it. Just so annoying. But he's right.
Number seven, coffee together in the morning or ice cream together at night.
Ooh, that's an easy one. I take both coffee in the morning, ice cream at night.
Okay.
Phew.
Same. Okay, movie night or road trip.
Mm, mhm. I take movie night, even though we do go on a lot of road trips because of me.
Movie night in the house.
Yeah, movie night's better. Or I would say shows because my husband really doesn't like movies.
Okay. Would you rather laugh together or cry together?
Ooh. How about I rather laugh so hard until we cry together?
That's fun. That's funny. Finish this sentence. Love is.
Mm, that's funny. Whatever. Love is feeling safe enough to be yourself. Yeah.
I love it. I love that. Okay, one word that describes a healthy relationship.
I know I've said this before, and I will always say is just feeling at peace.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if you find that peace, nothing else can disturb it. The biggest demon in a relationship is financial issues.
Mm-hmm.
Once
Mm-hmm.
you get that shit down, everything else just falls into place. And once you find that peace, that's better than anything.
Yeah. Before we end today's episode, I'm going to ask you one last question. If there's one thing you hope every woman listening remembers after today's conversation, what would it be?
Mm. I think I would want them to know that healing, it's beautiful when you take it slowly. Sometimes you're going to feel like you're going to move forward and then you take three steps back, and that's completely fine. Once you find the right person, give them that grace and give yourself that grace to be able to trust that person. Don't rush into anything. Love yourself. You have to heal at your own pace, but also know that the work is never done. And even in a relationship, you got to keep on working at it every day.
Yeah.
And remember, you deserve to heal. We all do. So know
Mm-hmm.
that you're not alone and we all go through this shit. If you're afraid to tell somebody how you feel, write it down in a piece of paper and just give them to them. Yes, fuck it. Let's go back old school. Write the shit down and say, hey, I feel this way. I'm afraid to tell you because I'm afraid you're going to leave me. Put it somewhere where they can find it. They'll read it and then it'll be easier for them to talk to you about it. But definitely communication is the main thing.
Yeah. Okay, so that is our episode for today. We hope this conversation reminded you that you are not alone, whether you're healing from trauma, learning to trust again, or simply trying to reconnect with yourself. Please give yourself grace. Healing isn't a race, it's a journey.
And remember, you don't have to have shit figured out to deserve to be loved. The right people, they don't expect for you to be fucking perfect. They love you while you're healing or while you're going through a bad situation. So if today's
Mhm.
episode spoke to you, please share it to any other woman that you think that needs to hear these words today because we're all in this together.
Definitely. And if you have a story you'd like to share, whether it's about relationships, military life, healing, or anything in between, send us a message. You can always remain anonymous. We'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And you can listen to Unfiltered and Unarmored on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, and Deezer, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating or a review. It helps us to reach more women who might need this conversation.
This was Unfiltered and Unarmored,
Real talk from two women veterans, life after service, healing, identity.
and the chaos in between. Ciao!
Ciao, bichotas!